Alright boys, back by popular demand. Too Fast Matt and the XX.
Yeah, you know how it is.
We're doing a little maintenance today on the XX. Matt, what are we going to be doing?
We're going to change the oil, clean the air filter, and I'm going to try to change the front and rear transaxle, or whatever you want to call it. Fluids and everything, drain them, put new back in.
Been about a year, so might not be critical yet, yeah, but might as well knock it out.
20 something hours, I think they say, like somewhere between 12, 25 or something on it. I'm not real sure on that. I'm just doing it because it's winter and I'm not really riding much right now, so.
Heck yeah. We're gonna get some instruction on this. There's also a modification you're doing. What's that?
Yeah, a lot of people with the double X may have heard about it. Back here underneath, we've already took the skid plate, the back section of the skid plate off, but this metal that's right underneath it here is taking a beating. And I don't know if you can see it on video how it's getting bent already.
So there is, yeah, it's kind of hard to get on video, but essentially
it's
this plate
right here
that goes underneath the skid plate, which kind of whacks when you get real big air on this thing, just by how it carries its weight. It makes that metal sheet bend up into the rear diff a little bit. So Speedworks makes a rubber mat. Speed side by side, I'm sorry. Makes a rubber mat that they sell for about 75 bucks. And Matt is using the smart man's version. So he went out and bought a rubber, like, what'd you call it, like a horse pen mat?
I think it's a horse stall mat. Yeah, from TSC.
One of those black rubber from Tractor Supply for about 20 bucks. Cut a piece to fit, and that's what we're going to use because, in theory, it's going to do the same exact thing
if you watch
for a fraction of the price.
If you've seen the one that they sell, it's actually got this same exact pattern on it, so I don't know if it's the same material or what. You know, I'm not bashing their stuff. They got good stuff. I've got their iPad mount. I love it. But I'm just if I can make something, I'm gonna make it. You know?
And with a fix like this, it's not necessarily performance. It's not necessarily a design flaw. These are just things that kind of reveal themselves over time, especially when you're pushing the machine. So might as well.
I mean, you could probably go with a better skid plate, you know, for the rear, which I'm probably going to do eventually anyways.
This will just give you a little peace of mind.
Yeah, yeah. Having that extra in there. I mean, the factory skid plate, just like all of them, it's paper thin.
All right, guys. So like we said, we got the skid plate off. There's also, when you go to change the oil on this, there's another plate underneath the oil filter. We remove that too so that we can get to the oil filter. You'll all see where that is. And change the oil, change the fluid, get her hooked up, ready to roll.
This pad in, we're going to have to take these bolts loose up under here for these rear arms. I don't know what you really call that. It's basically a frame, but
yeah, the frame underneath is going to have to come out to get the pad in. We might be punching that plate out just a little bit because, like you said, it's just a touch bent, but nothing a ball hammer can't fix.
Yeah.
All right, so we're loosening the frame up now. The reason why he's doing this is so he can get the that pad that he fabricated with those expert cuts underneath the rear diff. But this piece of the frame is going to have to come down just enough to be able to get that pad in here. So, and what size Allen is that, man?
8.
8.
It says.
Sweet.
8. Yeah. So this is why when Chad asks if you want him to come over and video, you say, yeah, sure. Go ahead, man.
I'm not going to watch you work on it and not get any wrench time in.
No, this is working all right, man. Like, here, I'll hold the camera. You take these bolts loose while we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, we should be all right. It is.
You hear that popping, don't be scared. It's separating right there.
It's coming down, so we're gonna definitely want to find something just to catch it. All right, so we're just gonna go ahead and take that the whole bottom part of the frame off, because it's going to let us get that rubber mat in there a little easier, and it's only a couple of bolts and a couple of rivets, so
on each side here, and then there's two that
might as well.
on here.
I'm going to take these two, take the rivets out. We've already got the other side disconnected, and we got a jack underneath waiting to take some of the weight, so we'll go ahead and do that as the next step. This is the back part of the frame that goes underneath that rear axle, so it was easy enough to take off, so we just went ahead and took the whole thing off. Matt's going to change the diff fluid in there real quick, and then we're going to make sure that that's not bent out of whack, put the rubber piece in, and then put it all back together. So far so good.
Yeah, it's going good. This you can see, I don't know if you can see it better now. That's got a,
Let's see if I can get the, yeah, from this side angle you can see
it's
that
already getting bent.
it's been whacked a few times. Can't imagine why. I mean, you don't ride crazy or nothing like that.
Ain't put it through nothing yet. But it almost looks like it's kind of designed that way on it.
All right, so the maintenance is done, and now this is kind of the purpose of the video. Matt's got his $20 horse stall piece of rubber there to protect the rear diff.
$60.
Yeah, if you need one, right?
Yeah, but there's the whole pad over there I bought for 20 bucks.
Yeah, bought the whole pad, cut a little piece out, saved himself some money.
Utility knife and started hacking. It's not clean cut and all that.
Looks good. All you need it to do is fit over where those rivets were, where the plate was hitting the rear diff. So you can see a little bit better now that it's cleaned off. The rear diff is definitely touching the plate. You can see all those bumps down there. So the rubber pad is just going to protect that.
I cut it a little long just so I figured the more
Yeah,
it's wedged
it should
in there,
fit
the
pretty
less it's
snug.
gonna move around, but I may have to trim that off. I don't know.
Looks like it's going to fit pretty snug. So this is definitely something you recommend to anybody with the XX.
For sure. Yeah. You can see, I mean, the evidence is there where it's been beaten on it already.
For sure.
So.
For sure. So, all right, let's get this frame mounted back up with the rubber piece installed and Matt, Too Fast Matt, ready to ride.
Yeah, hopefully.
All right, so putting the frame back on. Frame was actually pretty easy to get apart, right?
Yep.
Kind of essential for doing work on the rear diff, but by no means difficult. Pretty easy to work on. Even much easier with two people for sure.
Yeah, the worst thing we was talking about is getting to the oil filter. You got to take that rear skid plate off.
Yeah, the skid plate's got to come off, and then there's a guard over the oil filter and crankcase. But it's actually, you know, it's a little more work, but it's very well protected. So it's a trade-off there. I think it's, I'd rather have it like that and wrench on a little bit to get to it and know that it's going to be, you know, good to, I'd be confident running this thing through some mud. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, a couple of rivets underneath the plastic to go through, and then we will mount the front end, and it looks like when it fits snug, that rubber piece is going to be just about perfect. So as long as we don't hit any snags mounting the front side of this back half of the frame back together, then fixes in place and you're going to be good to go.
Yep. So what y'all missed was Chad actually lifted this whole thing by himself, but he couldn't lift it and put the bolts in.
Yeah.
So I pitched in my help with the jack.
Yeah, after I did about 20 reps,
Yeah.
1,800 pounds, no big deal.
He showed he could do it first.
But what this is a 8mm Allen, and Matt set the jack up on the frame, and what that did for us is it just pushed the two pieces of the frame back together so that we could get the bolts back in, because you could push them and get them there, but it was tough. So little jack work.
That bolt come out on you, or did that?
What's that?
Did that pop that on the top on you?
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jack definitely made it easier though.
Yeah. All right, so getting the frame back on was just, or the what is it,
I guess-
frame?
Yeah. Rear part of the frame.
Yeah, getting the frame back together was a little bit tricky. So Matt took a jack and pushed the frame back, and it was tricky because the rubber mat, there's so much mass. So the rubber mat went in here. So the rubber mat went underneath the diff, and it sits right between this guard and the rear diff, and it threw the frame off just a little bit. But so Matt took the jack to it, pushed it back in place, and then we actually had to take that piece of wood, hammer it back into position while I wrenched on it.
Yeah, the drive and it was off left to right out here too.
Yep. So
Stuck this in there, took a hammer and smacked it while he fed the bolt through.
heck yeah, good to have a buddy over. But we got her, she's back together, and she is rubber mat infused, and Too Fast Matt is ready for some trail ripping. All right, buddy.
Appreciate